Know that since the spirit which pervades the universe is imperishable and immutable, no one can effect his destruction. That which spreads through and is present in every atom of the universe is indestructible. No one is capable of destroying the imperishable principle. But what is the name of this deathless Amrit? Who is he? 18. Fight, O Bharat Arjun, because while the bodies which clothe the soul are said to come to an end, the embodied spirit itself is forever, indestructible, and boundless. Arjun is exhorted to get up and fight because all these physical bodies that embody the indwelling, boundless, and eternal spirit are said to be ephemeral. This spirit, the self, is imperishable, and it cannot be destroyed at any time. The self is real, whereas the physical body is subject to death, and so unreal and non-existent at all times. Lord Krishna's injunction to Arjun is, fight because the body is mortal. But it is not evident from the exhortation whether Arjun is required to kill only the Kaurav. Aren't the men on the side of Pandav, too, bodies? Are the Pandav immortal? If physical bodies are mortal, who is Lord Krishna there to defend? Is Arjun not a body, too? Is Lord Krishna there to defend that body which is unreal, without being, and unceasing? If it is so, may it not be assumed that he too is ignorant and lacking in discrimination, the power that distinguishes between the visible world and the invisible spirit? Doesn't he himself say later that the man who thinks of and toils only for the physical body, 3.13, is ignorant and wanting in discernment? Such a wretched man lives in vain. There is also another problem. Who really is this Arjun? Deep 48. As it was said in Chapter 1, Arjun is an embodiment of affectionate devotion. Like a faithful charioteer, the revered God is always with his devotee. Like a friend, he guides him and shows him the right way. We are not a physical body. The body is a mere garment, a dwelling for the soul to live in. The one who lives in it is the affectionate self. The physical body was sometime back called, unceasing. Elemental wars and slaughter do not destroy the body. When one body is forsaken, the soul just assumes another body. It is with reference to this that Lord Krishna has said that there is change from one body to another just as a man grows from childhood to youth, and then to old age. If you hack a body to pieces, the soul just puts on another body like a new apparel. The real base of the body is constituted by sanskar, the merits, the influences and impressions earned during a previous existence. And sanskar rests upon the mind. Perfect subjugation of the mind, so that it can be changeless, firm, and constant, and the dissolution of the last sanskar, are all different aspects of the same process. The disintegration of the last crust of this sanskar marks the end of physical existence. To bring about this dissolution we have to undertake aradhana, worship and adoration, of the desired God. Lord Krishna has named it action karma, or the way of selfless action, nishkam karma yoga. In the Gita, he has from time to time urged Arjun to wage war, but in the entire poem there is not one verse that supports the idea that this war is a physical war or in any way related to the idea of actual bloodshed. Evidently this war is the war between the opposed impulses of righteousness and unrighteousness, the forces of piety and those of impiety, that is fought within man's soul, the seat of all thought and feeling. 19. They are both ignorant, he who believes that the self slays and he who thinks that he is slain, for he neither slays nor he is slain. G-Yana, Chapter 49. He who regards the self as the slayer and he who regards him as the slain are both unaware of his real nature, for he neither kills nor can he be killed. The same point is stressed again. 20. Neither ever born nor dying, neither at any time coming into being nor ceasing to be. The self is birthless, perpetual, unchanging, and timeless, and he is not destroyed when the body is destroyed. The self, the God within soul, is neither at any time born nor does he at any time die, for what he undergoes in the name of death is a mere change of apparel. He cannot also be anything other than self, because he is birthless, permanent, eternal, and primeval. Disintegration, death, of the body does not annihilate the self. The self alone is real, timeless, unchanging, and eternal. Who are you? A follower of the eternal Dharma. What is forever? The self. So you are a follower, a disciple, of the self. The self and Brahm, God, are synonymous, and who are you? A worshipper of the eternal Dharma. What is immutable? The self, of course. That is to say that you and I all are adorers of the self. But if we are not familiar with the spiritual path to the eternal truth, the way of following the dictates of the self until he is one with the Supreme Spirit, we have nothing that is worthy of being described as changeless and everlasting. We are on trial for the final absolution and in close proximity to God if we pine for him, but we cannot be deemed as having been admitted as long as we are credulous enough to accept blindly one wrong convention or the other masquerading as Sanatana Dharma. Be it in India or any other country, the soul in all is identical. So, if anywhere on the earth there is a man who is aware of the true nature of self and his ultimate goal, and who is eager to take to the way which will eventually lead his self to the Supreme Spirit, be he a professed Nyao, Nahan, 50, Yath, Christian, Muslim, Jew, or anything else, he undoubtedly also belongs to the fold of Sanatana Dharma, the changeless and eternal. 21. How can he, O Parth, who is conscious of the soul within as imperishable, permanent, birthless, and immutable, kill or move another to kill? Arjuna is addressed as Parth, for he has made a chariot of the earth-made body and is preparing to take a perfect aim at the Supreme Spirit. The man who knows that the embodied soul is indestructible, permanent, beyond birth, and unmanifest, how can he make others slay or be a slayer himself? Destruction of what is indestructible is impossible. And, being beyond birth, the self is also never born. So why grieve for the body? This idea is further elaborated in the following verse. 22. Like a man who puts on new garments after discarding his worn-out clothes, the embodied self, also, casts off tattered bodies and transmigrates into other bodies that are new. The soul rejects bodies that have been ravaged by old age or some other disease and dresses himself in new apparel, just as a man throws away old, torn clothes and puts on new clothes. But if new clothing is needed only when the fabric of old clothes is weakened, why do young children die? These garments have yet to grow and evolve. It was said a little earlier that the body rests on sanskar, the impressions from action attained in the course of a previous existence. When the store of sanskar is depleted, the self discards the body. If the sanskar is of 2 days' duration only, the body will be on the brink of death on the second day itself. Beyond sanskar there is not even a single breath of life, sanskar. Jasoif javif mi view. Chapter 51 is the body, and the self assumes a new body according to his sanskar. According to the Chandogya Upanishad, a man is primarily his will. As is his will in this life, so does he become when he departs from it. It is the firmness of his will in one life that determines what a man will be in the next. Man is thus born in bodies that are shaped by his own will. So death is a mere physical change, the self does not die. Lord Krishna again emphasizes the same imperishability of the soul. 23. This self is neither pierced by weapons, nor burnt by fire, nor made damp by water, nor dried up by wind. Weapons cannot cleave the self. Fire cannot singe him. He cannot also be drenched by water, nor withered by wind. 24. The self, which cannot be pierced or burnt or made wet or faded, is uninterrupted, all-pervasive, constant, immovable, and eternal. The self cannot be cut or pierced through, he cannot be burned, and he cannot be soaked. Even the whole firmament cannot contain him within its expanse. The self is beyond doubt, ever fresh, omnipresent, immovable, constant, and everlasting. Arjun has pronounced family traditions to be eternal. So, according to him, the war will destroy Sanatan Dharma itself. But Lord Krishna finds it an example of ignorance and points out that the self alone is eternal. If we do not know the means by which we can realize our self and his goal, we have no inkling of Sanatan Dharma. India has paid a heavy price for this ignorance. The total number of Muslim invaders who came to this country in the Middle Ages was approximately 12,000. Today they have multiplied to more than 280 million. 12,000 could reasonably 52. There used to have grown to a few 100,000 to 10 million at the most. They could not have grown to more than this. But their number now is more than a 280 million. Now, who are the majority of them but Hindus, our own co-religionists and brothers, who were lost to the fold because of our absurd taboos of food and touch? In fact, their conversion is a proof that we have by and large lost touch with Sanatan Dharma. We are so befogged by silly customs that we have lost the capacity to realize that food and touch cannot destroy Sanatan Dharma. The truth is that no object of the material world can touch this universal spiritual principle. What has made us lose millions of our brothers is not Dharma but only some stupid conventions. And the same misconceptions must be held responsible for our worsening communal situation, partition of India, and even for the serious threats to our national unity and integrity that we are facing today. There are innumerable examples of how we have suffered because of our mindless customs that have nothing to do with Dharma.